Can you tell I'm in denial?
You can't stay at the top forever.
I was also very surprised when I looked at my phone and saw Joe Girardi dismissed.
Well, I think mine were with common sense.
I think now belongs in the all-time greats top 10.
Boston, I really think only got to this point because of a guy named Chris Middleton being out for the Bucks.
That power play just was unbearable. It was humming.
Man, am I happy. I knew that this was going to happen. I knew he was going to come back.
When I think of New York Yankees now, is Judge. Probably people in the past when Jeter was coming up.
I would be shocked. A little bit hurt.
Hey, this is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, and Valley Sports Southwest. You are listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. And Austin, Kirk Cousins has been signed. It's a 5-year deal, but basically a 1-year deal with the Raiders with a lot of options. And I was not expecting him to go to the Raiders.
I was not either. However, I did expect him to get signed. So I did expect him to have the opportunity to start next year. And I think he will. It's a 5-year, $172 million contract, but only 11.3 is guaranteed, which is basically just a contract for this year. So like you said, his average salary, if he were to play all of it, would be around 35 mil, but that's if he played to 42. I don't think we really expected to play with the Raiders that long, but I do think that he is a good quarterback. Not a great quarterback anymore because of the injury, but last year he played good. In the 8 games with the Falcons, he went 5-3, had 10 touchdowns and 5 picks, averaged around an 85 passer rating and a okay QBR. But I thought he played well last year. I mean, going 5-3 as a starter, like I said, having 10 touchdowns to 5 picks, that's a very good ratio. He had a 62% completion percentage, which is solid. And I think this is the perfect situation for a guy like Fernando Mendoza to not start at the beginning of his career, which I've been a big proponent of not letting rookie QBs start their first year. I think the plan should be to allow Kirk Cousins to play this entire year out, barring injury, and then let Mendoza come in as a starter, not this upcoming season, but the season after that. I think that's how I would do it, and that's how I prefer that teams end up making those decisions.
Yeah, this is something to where it does. I don't believe it hampers too much with Fernando Mendoza being drafted by the Raiders, but I do believe he at least will not start the season and Kirk Cousins will. I don't know if they'll go the whole season. We've seen a lot of that.
What do you think they should?
I wouldn't hate it to have Kirk Cousins do it, because this line is not going to be good. However, that doesn't lend well to Kirk Cousins and him staying healthy. So that means Mendoza would go in at some point. But I think as long as, and I'm sure there's communication with Kirk Cousins mentoring Mendoza, I think this is a great thing for them because Cousins will fit in that Clint Kubiak system.
100%. I definitely agree with that.
And then making the right reads. This is an offense very much under construction, so I wouldn't hate a veteran quarterback doing it. It's just I don't see the Raiders being patient enough to have Cousins do it the full year.
I think Kubiak would be, though. I think Kubiak is a relatively patient guy. I think we saw that last year with the Seahawks, but also the year before that with the Saints. He didn't really push for Rattler to become a starter, or even though Rattler's had high potential. And Rattler played fine last year. I know that Sugar's now their quarterback moving forward, but I think it's the best decision to do that. Again, I think that there's overwhelming evidence to prove that a year off for a rookie QB is a good thing. And whether ownership pressures Kubiak to start him, I guess we could see that. But if I were them, no matter how bad it gets, unless it's, again, an injury, so ignore injury possibilities. But as long as that doesn't happen, then I would keep him on the bench for at least, 14, 15 weeks of the season, because I just believe he learns so much and just can be a sponge. And Mendoza's a very intelligent QB. I'm just learning and teaching him the ways of being an NFL quarterback will help him as he does start his career.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And it would be the best case for the Raiders of giving them time to build something, because this team is very much under construction. And they did put a lot of pieces into the defense. It is still unclear what they'll do with Max Crosby. I don't know how that money will work, because it appeared like they did all those moves with the idea of Crosby's money is no longer there. Then Crosby comes back. So this way too, if you have Cousins, the Raiders could be competitive this season, depending on if it all goes well on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I do think there's some questions, but I do think they'll be competitive in a lot of their games. I don't think they're a playoff team per se, but I do think they'll go 7-10, and they'll be competitive in a lot of those games. And while they do play in a tough division with the Chiefs, who I do expect to be better than last year, and the Chargers, who made the playoffs, and the Broncos, who made the AFC Championship game, I expect them to be in a lot of those games, and I expect them to win at least one game in their division. Like I said, go 7-10, 8-9, because Kubiak's a great head coach. They do have a good run game. They're going to have some good weapons around Cousins. I know not the greatest O-line, but as long as they get a good package for Crosby, if they do trade him, and their defense holds up, I think they'll be a decent team, and a team that, again, will help Mendoza in a year from now kind of get prepared for his true rookie season.
I agree. Cousins, to me, is the quarterback right now that I think you want your young quarterback learning from. Cousins handled the Penix situation, I think, really great, even though the Falcons put themselves in that situation.
I don't blame Cousins as much for that, because they signed him to what they signed him to, and they made it seem like he was their guy, and then they drafted Penix. Here, I think there's going to be a lot more truthfulness between the two parties, and I think that Kubiak will very carefully explain that, hey, you're the guy this year, but we know that Mendoza is going to be the guy after that. So we're going to give you everything we have to make you as good as you possibly can be this year, but this is Mendoza's team long term, and I hope you know that. And I think those conversations were had, and I think the best case for Cousins is that he plays well this year, and then next year he's on a different team that maybe could make the playoffs and contend. And the Raiders can trade him at that point and get something for him, because his contract's not horrible because he has so many outs. So if you were to trade him, there's a lot more safety nets around the future for him. So I think that is the best case for both these guys. I mean, Cousins wants to win a Super Bowl in his career, which that's always the goal for any player. Then it's this year, play as well as you can. Know that you're not going to be the guy the year after that, and get traded to a team that hopefully has more guys around you to allow that to happen. And if you're the Raiders, you help your young, potentially elite QB get a jump start in his career just by learning and not having to worry about injuries or getting derailed in that way, but just to be a sponge of knowledge. And Cousins is a very knowledgeable QB that's had a lot of success in his career. So I think this will be a good result for both parties.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what happens. And if you look at Clint Kubiak recently, I know Rattler was young, didn't really have many starts, but Rattler had seen different systems. Sam Darnold, of course, had been in different systems. I do think Cousins being there will be helpful to be that translator between Kubiak and Mendoza. Even if maybe Mendoza starts, Cousins is the backup and just explaining to Mendoza exactly how the system works.
Yeah, and I do expect Mendoza to learn a lot. And kind of like you said, it's sometimes I think it's better to see something happen than just be told how it's supposed to happen. and see the reads, the progressions that Kirk Cousins is going to go through. I think this is a great signing for the Raiders, who are hopefully trying to build themselves up from the years of torment that their fans have had to suffer through.
Yeah, and we will keep you updated on how that season goes. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.